If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. A child shall lead them.
To buy our merch, make them suffer. Vortex.
Let me get these lyrics here. I love shit like this. Heavy metal, heavy
Okay.
metal, heavy metal.
All right, that one got very heavy. That was not as positive as the last one. But
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, he's like, spiraling down the void is pulling me, twisting me. Willingly, I'll abandon all I knew. Circling, and when I'm finally down the drain, I'll see it differently. Sadly, that's the best that I can do. So he recognizes, like, this is not the best way to handle this situation, but he kind of feels like powerless to be able to change that, and doesn't really think that there's anything else he can do. I think I've fallen apart, left only an empty dial tone. I'm going back to the start. Vortex completes the cycle. So it kind of sounds like he notices that he does this a lot. He'll like cycle back around, then maybe he'll be like, okay, I guess I'm doing all right, after he sees it differently once he spiraled down. Sometimes I think that does happen. I do think that you go through certain things and then you see like from another angle. But yikes. I just want the peach one. Thank you. He said, it spat me down, and out decrepit and weak, a crippled mess as I was destined to be. A shattered man for everybody to see. Can't figure out how to put this delicately, so what? So here we go. Vortex completes the cycle. So it literally just, thanks honey, just sounds like he just let it just take him down, let it like destroy him, and then, he kind of sounds like he cares about what other people thinks about him, and how they're seeing him, but that he doesn't feel like that there's any way for him to stop that cycle. But then the bridge is down where the darkness reigns into the deepest void. Bone marrow heaves the weight of the unconscious world, and we will find our place amongst the stains of old, our ancient ways reclaimed, hidden beneath the fold. So it does kind of sound like he found something, like, because he talks about ancient ways, and did I read gold or did I just add that in there?
We will find our place amongst the stains of old, our ancient ways reclaimed, hidden beneath the fold.
Yeah. I'm not... that to me is not necessarily positive, nor is it necessarily negative either. I could kind of see it going both ways. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it looks to me like I'm just going to assume a negative connotation here just because of the tenor of the whole song, where he says, down where the darkness reigns onto the deepest void. So he's going down and down and down into, nothingness, nihilism, whatever. Bone marrow heaves the weight of the unconscious world, which is to say, in the deepest parts of himself.
Yeah.
Then he says, and we will find our place among the stains of old, our ancient ways reclaimed, hidden beneath the fold. So that to me looks like, in Christianese, it's called generational curses, where it's like, and I actually believe in this to a degree, and I think there's a secular evolutionary way to explain this as well as a theological one, but there is something to say about patterns of life that families have. There are certain patterns of life that certain families are defined by. So, like, for example, if you look at the Kennedys, for example, people would say, okay, that's most of us would say that is a positive sort of family legacy where generation after generation after generation, somebody's in political office, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also, I think they've had like 3 assassinations in their family, as well as, crazy shit happening. There's a lot of like my mother believes John Kennedy Jr. was killed.
Hey, what's up, Steve?
There's a lot of family tragedies that are connected to the Kennedys. So on the one hand, it's not coincidental that they keep producing all of these politicians, because their family has a certain subculture combined with the money and the effect that they've had on this country, to where they're kind of like royalty in the family. So that gets passed on generation to generation. Well, the same thing happens with certain family systems and ways of thinking that happen for generations and get passed down over and over again. And if you go up, he specifically talks about fate. And you could say, oh, he's making an excuse, which is what I, generally how I deal with those issues. But if it's in your family history for, let's say, 6 or 7 generations, it's very easy to think that you're just fated. I mean, we just got done looking at this in a show, right?
Yeah.
Where the whole Langmore family curse in Ozark, and we're not going to give away any spoilers, but that was one of the sub themes of the show Ozark, which is, can you outgrow your family curse, your family legacy? And were they really cursed? Were the Langmores really cursed and fated to the kinds of ends that happened to them, or was it people's choice? And that's one of the salient parts in the show, is one of the FBI directors calls up one of the protagonists, and all she says to him is, "You had a choice." And then she hangs up the phone. So that was one of the themes in Ozark, is this whole idea of fate versus people's individual choices, how your family affects your what you do.
Yeah.
So you had 2 families that were really being paralleled in the show Ozark. One was the Langmores, and they were bad, they were horrible, they were white trash, criminal family. And then you had this other family, the Byrds, and the Byrds were white, upper middle class, pretty much the royalty of the, Democratic Party. The girl worked, the wife worked on Obama's campaign, that type of thing. This really, really well-to-do family. And then you see the corruption that begins to seep into this family, the Byrd family, where everybody eventually starts becoming, taking part in this horrible criminal enterprise, whereas before there were certain members of the family that had legitimate moral outrage at it. Yeah. But as the thing progresses, people make choices, but you can't say that your family history doesn't heavily influence that. So to me, years ago, I was like, oh, this is my family history, blah, blah, blah. I was heavy on the fate thing. Then when I started working on myself, I did a lot of work on myself. You guys know I was in the hospital, all that stuff, did a lot of work on myself. And I swung the other way and says, your family history has nothing to do with it. It's all your personal responsibility. Now I'm a little bit in the middle. Your family history has serious and real world ramifications on how you think, how you act, how you eat, everything. And to not recognize that, I think, is actually a stumbling block toward real and authentic recovery. So I think the solution is to say, yep, I am part of an ancient line of alcoholics, or an ancient line of drug addicts, or an ancient line of men who don't take care of their kids, or et cetera, et cetera. Me personally, I wasn't. My line, my family line, and I didn't know this till about a year ago, is the men in our family are actually pretty maniacal about our kids. I mean, I'm talking about historically, like to the 3rd or 4th generation behind. And it gave me an understanding of why I'm so maniacal about my kids. Even though I was completely cut off from that side of my family, everybody that came from that line, we're all that way. Mm-hmm. And it's very, and there's other people that didn't come from that line that are not that way. So you cannot say that it is not irresponsible to say, absolutely, my family upbringing and our family legacy absolutely influences how I am. Hey, Vicarious in the house. Jambi, what's up, Jambi? You can't say that, what's up, Sean? You can't say that your upbringing has nothing to do with why you are the way that you are, but you cannot put the full weight of your fuck-ups on your family either. You have to recognize it and then say to yourself, this is going into the ground with me. So that's one of the things that I vowed to myself. I went to the bathroom a couple of years ago and looked myself in the mirror, and I'm like, this, and this is going in the ground with me. I'm not passing this on to my boys. I'm not passing this on to the girls. And by God's grace, I've been able to really attack those 3 things that I said are never going to be, I'm not going to replicate that in my kids. So, I see it both ways. But this guy's obviously in the middle of it, and he doesn't have a lot of encouragement that he's going to be able to change. And that's tough. That's really, really tough for people.
I heard the bridge, for me, I was seeing both sides of it, because he says Vortex completes the cycle. So that sounds like that's at the end, the spiraling down and it getting super, super dark is at the very, very end. And when he said, we will find our place amongst the stains of old, our ancient ways reclaimed hidden beneath the fold. I thought maybe that was meaning that when he was at that super dark place, he would reclaim something of, like, I don't think, obviously, if humanity has survived for so long, that's because that there is something of, like, this we're going to survive mentality, and we're going to get past this, and we're, so even though you can look back at all the people of the past, and there was literally not a single perfect person except for Jesus Christ. So it's like, all right, well, I fit into that long line of people that, although they were fuck ups and they were stains, they still had that, like, we're going to get out of this mentality. And so he claims that hidden beneath the fold, hidden beneath all of the, the spiraling down is like, okay. And then that's kind of what gets him back up at the top. But then he always finds himself spiraling back down to that place, because, like, reclaiming the strength of our ancestors is not enough to get us out of our bad situations or the bad mindsets that we have, especially if we've accepted some of it as, well, this is in my family line, this is who we are. And you hear people say that, a lot of times, like the Irish line, people will excuse their anger because they're Irish. Stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
It's like, well, I'm Irish, so, whatever. And, but yeah, I think that there has to be a healthy, viewing of that stuff and working your way through it instead of just, accepting some of those things. But yeah, and they'll pass it on to their kids. Like, I see people make excuses for their kids. Well, she's got that Irish blood in her from me, so that's why she's having those, whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, so I could see that going either way. But I do think that if you look at the song as a whole, it does kind of feel like it was kind of like a negative view there. But I think I want to kind of make that ending kind of like a little bit more positive, because I don't like the idea of just getting sucked down into a vortex and finding nothing at the end of it but more misery. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I really like this one. This one was really, really heavy. I really enjoyed the heaviness of it. It kind of, I know it didn't, like, necessarily sound like Slipknot, but it had, like, that energy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I appreciate that energy whenever I run across it. 9.85 for me.
9.7 for me. I love this song. Really, really good song. And the message, to your point, can be good depending on how you interpret it. Just like everything, dear listener. Everything is positive if you have a certain mentality. All right, there you are. We got more songs on the way. I think Avenged Sevenfold is up again. Vin out.
Sori out.
Go.